Good morning, readers. For reading workshop today, we're going to be talking about session 10, self-assessing using qualities of a strong interpretation. So let's take a look at this painting. It's called A Sunday Afternoon on the Grand Jeté. It's by an artist named Seurat. This painting is actually created out of a lot of tiny dots. The artist worked on it for 2 years, drafting it and revising it, studying different techniques and how to put colors together and illusions, and use this technique to make this pretty beautiful painting. Any kind of meaningful work that we do takes drafting and revising. When you guys write stories and essays, you take them through many drafts to make your writing the best it can be. Today, readers, I want to teach you that readers also take their interpretations around theme through a process of drafting and revision. One way that they do this is to have in mind an internalized sense of the qualities of a strong theme work, and that helps guide them with their revision. So, before we can do anything, let's really talk about theme and what it means. A theme is a big idea that relates to the whole arc of the story, not just part of the story. It's grounded in specific details and examples from the text, and it considers the choices that the author makes. So, when experienced readers think those questions, what's this story really about? Or what's the theme of this story that you know to ask yourselves? We check to make sure that our answers meet the criteria in the above checklist, those three ideas. Does it relate to the whole arc of the story? Is it grounded in specific details from the text? And does it consider the choices that the author makes? So, yesterday I asked you to read a poem by Eloise Greenfield called Things. What is this poem really about? Well, you all read this and you thought about the theme. You might have come up with the idea that poetry lasts forever, right? But let's look at that. Poetry lasts forever. It's true, but does it really relate to the whole poem or to just part of the poem? I think if we look at it closely, that is definitely part of the theme of this poem, but I think it just relates to the end, that last stanza. Went to the kitchen, laid down on the floor, made me a poem. Still got it, still got it. That speaks to that idea of poetry lasts forever. But now that we've thought a little bit more about theme and we've established the criteria that we want our ideas about theme to reflect, let's look at this poem again. And let's think. Looking at the checklist now helped us realize that our initial idea about theme, poetry lasts forever, actually just related to part of the poem. And we want to improve on our interpretation, which was great to start out with, but can be even stronger in order to make it relate to the whole poem, that first item of the criteria. So I want you to pause the video here and jot some notes on a post-it about a theme that could relate and pertain to the entire poem. So think about it again. You can pull it up in the document or you can rewind a little bit in the video, but think about something that relates to the whole poem and it can build on that initial idea. Come back when you've done that. All right, so listen to this revision. It takes into account where we started because that was a very good beginning, but let's see how it expands upon this and think if this was some of the notes that you made to add to your theme idea. Things by Eloise Greenfield is a poem about poetry. It says that in a world where many things, like candies, sandhouses, don't last, poetry lasts forever. So it takes that idea that we started with that related to the last stanza, and it actually helps relate to the whole thing because it takes into account that many things, such as candy and sandhouses, which are in the first two stanzas, don't actually last, but poetry does last forever. So it just makes our original idea about theme even stronger. We can actually look at the other two items on the checklist and keep going and revise even more. But I'm just going to have us focus on the third item and consider a way to say something about the choices that the author made. Because I noticed something in the way Eloise Greenfield chooses her words. Why do you think she used that repeated phrase in the first two stanzas, ain't got it no more, instead of the proper I do not have? You can stop and jot if you want why you think she used that. Why did she make that choice? Because we know that authors, since you guys are authors, have purpose in every one of their words. So she probably chose to write it this way because she wanted in her poem to capture a child's voice, the perspective of an exciting, candy loving little kid. So, readers, what I really want you to take away from this, I want you to see that as readers, we can use tools like this theme checklist to help us develop an idea for what makes a powerful, really strong reading and connection to a text. And we can see that we can take our first rough draft ideas and make them even stronger. The same way that we do with our writing, we can do with our writing about reading. So, what are you going to do today? In session 7, a couple weeks ago, on slide 22 in your e-reader's notebook, you wrote about a theme for your book. So I want you to start today by reading that theme over, but thinking about the 3 items on that theme checklist, which you'll have in your e-reader's notebook on slide 28. Go back to your theme and think, does it speak to the whole arc of the story? Does it use specific details and evidence from the text? And does it take into account what the author does, the choices the author makes? Now, if you think that it really doesn't meet those qualities, then you can revise it on slide 29 in your e-reader's notebook. You can use one of the prompts from this chart to the right. I'm changing my mind, I'm realizing, right? All of these things you can use to revise your thinking and to make your idea about the theme even stronger. If you decide that the theme you wrote about in session 7 is as strong as you want it to be, it uses the evidence, it speaks to the whole story, it takes into account the author's choices, then you can choose on slide 29 to write another theme in your book. Often there are more than one theme that the author tackles within a book. Either way, whether you choose to revise your theme or you choose to write a second theme, I want you to go back and find specific evidence to support your new claim. So on slide 29, you need to make sure that that evidence is there with your strong idea of what the theme is of the historical fiction book that you are reading. And of course, you're going to be reading for 20 minutes of your book. Have a great day.